와 미쳤다. 와.
We're dinking.
This was Teamfight Tactics in set 1. Braum could live forever. Dragons were immune to magic damage. Everything scaled off AP. And this guy did this.
His Lucia walked off the screen.
The game was broken, and we were obsessed. I remember the Christmas morning when I got my Nintendo 64, the final present from under the tree silhouetted by ornamental wrapping paper in a shape I recognized instantly. I can still feel the excitement of opening that console. It was my family's first gaming console, and it would be the catalyst of my gaming endeavors for the rest of my life. Every so often, I think about how much my brother and I genuinely loved playing our Nintendo 64. But when I look back, we didn't have the perfect experience. I mean, one of our first games was LEGO Racers, which required an additional memory unit just to save the game, which we didn't have. So I'll never be able to tell you what the second half of that game looked like, but I can tell you that I played those first few races endlessly. There's something about new, raw, imperfect experiences that tend to etch themselves more deeply in our memories. Escaping from Chow Garden, playing as Master Hand, or whatever other glitches you experienced as a kid. These are the moments that made games come alive. So what does this have to do with Teamfight Tactics? Well, I'm glad you asked. Hey, now before we get too far in this video, why don't you subscribe below? I know most of you don't. My goal is to get 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and I'd really appreciate your support. Anyway, let's go back to the summer of 2019. News has spread like wildfire of a second title being developed under the Riot Games umbrella. TFT began with a single question spreading around the Riot Games offices. Have you tried Auto Chess? Auto Chess was a Dota 2 mod that had taken over many gaming circles, bringing the brand new genre to the masses. It was rough around the edges, but it was immensely popular, and there was a group of rioters that believed that they could make something even better.
Everyone was just playing auto chess. Like, you would see people during lunch playing. There was some serious like design conversation as well going around of like, hey, we should be at the very least looking at this. A very practical element of it was, oh, not only do we like this genre and, you know, League of Legends characters and IP is a good fit, but also we think we can just make it in the League engine. Fundamentally, we were able to stand up the very basics of the game, like, very fast. We were play testing-ish within weeks.
In just 18 weeks, and yeah, that number is right, 18 weeks, they built a brand new game in essentially a new genre with almost no reference material. If you look at what some of the work in progress videos looked like, it becomes extremely clear how much building and rebuilding was required to make something that even remotely resembles the game that we play today. I mean, it was insane. At one point in development, your units would arrive on a train, and instead of taking a portal, you would go to other boards on a boat. And instead of hexagons, the units were placed on squares. Now, that one is reasonable, but still technically different. Anyway, you get the picture. This was crazy, and Riot just had to get this thing out the door. Once it's in PBE, we'll figure it out later. And in 18 short weeks, they actually did it. On June 18th, 2019, players camped outside the PBE like it was Black Friday at Best Buy. Eventually, their time came, and as the doors opened, they got to experience for the first time just how broken this game was.
Yeah, baby.
And the game took off like a rocket. Despite only being out for 18 days in June, it became the 9th most watched game on Twitch. The next month, it would become number 2. While most Hearthstone and League of Legends adjacent streamers were at least trying out the game, TFT content began to explode largely off the back of Skara and Disguised Toast. Their regular YouTube uploads made it extremely easy to stay up to date on all things TFT, and it didn't take long for their uploads to begin to devolve into spreading the good news.
They've waited 4 hours to get into PBE only for me to play against them like this.
Oh, he is down! What is this?
What happens? I'm on this side. Okay, that's what I thought.
If you were around during set 1, then I don't need to tell you just how insane every single aspect of this game was. But if you weren't, I'm going to paint a brief but extremely vivid picture of what this set looked like. As a primer, some item and trait combinations scaled a bit too well. Rapid fire cannon could do this, or it could do this.
It's a lawnmower.
And imagine clumping your team to protect against assassins only to have to fight against this.
Let me show you.
Now, people knew that TFT was going to be broken before the game was even released. The item system was designed by Certainly T, one of the most infamous Riot developers who brought us champions like Aphelios, Zoe, and Yasuo. And to be clear, this wasn't a bad thing. The zaniness of TFT's items were an immediate draw of the game. Cursed Blade, Hush, and Swordbreaker were part of this build fantasy for players where you could create an entire comp around debuffing the enemy team, making the enemy carry a 0-star unit incapable of attacking or gaining mana. At one point in time, Spear of Sojin gave 20% of a unit's maximum mana as mana per auto, meaning that a Misfortune could gain 30 mana per auto attack. For reference, the current version of Spear of Sojin when recording this gives 5 mana per auto attack. Phantom Dancer dodged all critical strikes, and Dragon's Claw reduced all magic damage by 75%, allowing items to act as hard counters against specific compositions. To be honest, I think I can summarize Riot's entire design philosophy in set 1 with the help of my good friend Syndrome.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Thank you, Syndrome. Now, it wasn't just the items that held the power to swing the game. No. The unit and traits each had some egregious offenders. Now, unlike the items, which were overpowered as a whole, the greatest power discrepancy had to be in the units. Some units were purposely designed to be weak because they activated strong traits in the late game. And on the flip side, some legendary units, strike that. One legendary unit had the most overloaded kit the game has ever seen. We're talking untargetability, a 2-second stun, and essentially team-wide percent health, true damage burn, and grievous wounds application, and to top it all off, a Dragon's Claw built into his trait. And while it didn't last long, I want to give a nod to the most broken unit and item combination in the game's history. In another video, I talked about the War Week patch and how one unit took over the meta. But this is a combination that would make that dog scamper away with his tail between its legs. 2 words. AP Yasuo. The short version of this is that back in set 1, anything that could scale off of AP did scale off of AP. The shield from Yasuo's trait scaled with AP. The ticks from Morellonomicon scaled with AP. The damage dealt by Ionic Spark, say it with me, scaled off AP. In the end, you were left with an ultimate 1v9 machine whose shield never broke and who could inflict a team-wide burn while the enemy team lost half their HP bars just trying to cast. And while that one was hotfixed, the 12-hour span between discovery and patching created the strongest unit the game has ever seen.
So with your permission, I'd like to take this guy on a boat, and then once he's trapped at sea, teach him a lesson he'll never forget.
Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Gangly, you told me that this game was broken, but you've only showed me how it's imbalanced. And you're not wrong. While broken can mean imbalanced, it's worth it to explore its other meaning. The game was an unfinished product.
Toast is gonna win through free rides. Oh, no, oh, Cannon! What's going on? Oh no! Oh no!
Is he gonna die? Dude, if he dies to the
I win!
Naturally, there are going to be bugs that couldn't possibly be ironed out in time. And while these days we're used to bugs like spatulas not activating or items not scaling correctly with units' abilities, the bugs we encountered in set 1 were a different breed entirely.
I don't know what's going on. Where's my Mord? He's coming! There was still so much that we knew was wrong. The bug that popped into my head, there's so many bugs I could probably rattle off. It was the bane of our existence, I think for months, was something was improperly maintaining units like Yordle status. If that happened, the unit would have 100% dodge chance. So there's just like a random chance that a random Yordle has 100% dodge chance.
One might think that the chaos that came with item imbalance, overloaded kit, and a plethora of bugs would drive away the general public from a brand new game in a largely unproven genre. But I want to call back to my story from the beginning. When I think back to the moments in my gaming career that have made the largest impression on me, they very rarely involve the quiet moment of perfect balance or perfecting an experience that I've done a million times. In fact, the moments that do stand out to me are almost exclusively around the exploration of something completely new, regardless of whether or not they were perfect. It's playing Smash all night with my cousins to finally unlock Mewtwo. It's watching the Rube Goldberg that my friend had spent weeks on in the Halo 3 Forge. It's losing extremely badly in my first ever esports event. And for all of the beauty and nostalgia that I feel for these moments, they are equally riddled with bugs and frustrations and even negative experiences. But at the end of the day, that realization that you've discovered something that you didn't even know you wanted is so heavy that it carries the weight of all of that negativity on its back.
There is always something, I borderline say magical about experiencing a new genre. The amount of like learning and discovery and hey, we're all kind of in this together mentality as well, right? Like nobody's ultra optimized this thing, and so we can kind of have this unique shared experience.
TFT Set 1 represents something beautiful. While it wasn't the first auto chess game, for most people it was theirs. At least it certainly was for me. We live in an age of information where most fields and topics are deeply understood by some sizable community. But everything in TFT was new. It didn't matter if you were a player, a developer, or a viewer, if you were Iron or Challenger. We were watching the sparks fly before the fire caught. And with every game that I played, this new world became more opaque. I learned more about the units, the traits, and the items, and eventually these puzzle pieces became more clear in my mind. I could feel the game start to click, and I could actually express myself in the way that I wanted to play the game. And while I wouldn't say that it became my identity, I would say that it became an extension of myself. And this story isn't unique to me. The competitive scene in TFT is riddled with top players who began in the early days of the game. Even the players who retire from the game always come back to try out the new sets. The impression made by discovering a new land is not one that can be easily ignored. Fast forward to today, you'll find a game that looks awfully different than it used to. And to be honest, I wouldn't want to play Set 1 again. Because a game can't be perfect forever, but it can be perfect at the right time. And in the summer of 2019, for just a moment, Illusion walked off the map and we fell in love. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe down below. If you want to have access to the full interview with Riot Wittrock, all you have to do is support me on Patreon. You can find it in the link down in the description. And if you want to support me for free, you can still vote on what videos I'm going to be making next. I truly, truly appreciate all the support on these videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Double Curse Blade stack. Holy crap, wait, what happened to his team? I'm pretty sure it stacks because they're getting shrunk at an insane rate right now.
Kaybettin oyunu ya. İkinci oldun. Neyse yine kazanmış sayılırsın. Ne yapıyor? Pelikan mı çekiyor?